Good morning. My name is Elder Eric Martin of the Troy House of Judah. I'd like to first take this opportunity to say to all the mothers, stepmothers, godmothers, happy Mother's Day. I'd like to also say on behalf of Pastor Tyron that we greet you in the name of Jesus, and we hope that we can bring a word to you today will give you inspiration. Let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about a tool that God has given every person. God has given every member of the human race a priceless tool when they come into the earth, and that is the gift of time. Time is simply defined as a point or period when something occurs. Time is multifaceted. Time is a multifaceted item in our lives, and we use it to mark our moments, to record our works, to measure our waste, and to our productivity. We are so used to the concept of time that we tend to take it for granted. We forget that it has limits. And we underestimate that while it is in supply, we don't consider it to be a tool in our destiny. It is one of the weights that is used in the balance sheets and the weighting of our lives. The expression, the handwriting on the wall, for example, as described in Daniel chapter 5, comes in part from a king and a kingdom coming to the end for its time had been exhausted. In the moment that the hand of God wrote on the wall of the palace, the king and his court were heavily invested in partying, invested in pleasure for pleasure's sake. But in that moment, neither the king nor all his court understood that their investment was going to return a heavy loss of destruction. So time has been given by God to help us to reinforce, hopefully, his perspective. Because it will bring to us, hopefully, an understanding that our lives are priceless. Not that money is priceless, not that art is priceless, but our lives are truly priceless. And then because of that priceless value, there is a limit of time. We should remind ourselves daily that everything we do has value. Our words, our expressions, our precious moments, our interactions with others. Everything that we do has a value to it. And time is a great tool to bring a sense of that value of those moments. Ecclesiastes 3:1 has said it best, that there is a time and a season under the heaven. And that is to say, within the earth for man and every activity by man and in his environment in which he lives, he is subject to time and time. Timing basically means is the ability to select the precise moment of doing something at an optimal level. So in other words, you can be time conscious and not understand the value of timing within the time of being conscious of it. In other words, timing gives you perspective to understand the season and to understand that these moments were all brought to a head for you to act. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, the times we are living in currently are extraordinary. Here we are. Our normal lives are being disrupted. The way that we have our routines. For some and for most, our jobs are disrupted. Our simple pleasures have been changed. Our interactions with others and making sense of who we are and what we are as a people, as a society, as a race, as a planet has been pushed into a different era. And yet, when you consider all these disruptions, that one tool, time, continues to march on and stays on its course. The truth is that people are willing to risk their health and push an agenda just to get back to normal. They don't understand that they don't value that this period allows us to have a different perspective about how to conduct ourselves. In other words, spending time in a different manner may be uncomfortable, but because it is in this moment, we should help our focus to be laser-like, to value what is truly important. As believers and as humans, we should use this opportunity, this moment, according to Romans chapter 13 and verse 11, to make sure that we have this understanding of the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up and for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. In other words, we need to have perspective. Now, the stay at home orders, at least in our state, is a great time to gain a different perspective. It is a time to understand that the things that we've done in times past really, truly has brought us to this point, and that what we did in times past will no longer be effective, will no longer be relevant in the moment that we're living now. I'm not talking about the Word of God. I'm not talking about the things of the Spirit. I'm saying that as a human being in this planet, we need to understand that the season is now changing. And just like in Ecclesiastes, where it says there's a time to pluck and a time to sow, we need to understand that there's a time to refocus on what is important to us. Not investing in a conspiracy for everyone that posts it on social media, or try to understand why this is happening now, or not becoming the megaphone or the microphone for every sinister plot that someone is speaking of. For we have always want to know, we always have this great desire to know what is occurring and why it is occurring while it's happening. Well, guess what? Our lives are not a TV show. That's not how life operates. I'll give you an example. Daniel, when wanting to understand the things of the end time, had to fast and pray for 21 days in order to find out the things of God. Interestingly enough, because of that 21 days, while he was in the middle of it, right, the answer didn't come until after. So if it doesn't work for a man anointed like Daniel, why do we think we should have a better understanding of what is going on right now? Rebalancing our lives is what is important, what is needed, because the changes we need to become better are needed in order for us to wake up. In general terms, once you are woke, you need to stay woke. Making ourselves available to become wise, according to Colossians chapter 4, verses 5 through 6, in the way that you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace and seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. This advice that Paul gives us should help us to prepare in being wise in how we communicate with each other. That we should be able to present Christ in our actions. The word conversation really means your life and how you live it. You have that neighbor, maybe you have a relative, a coworker, or someone that you have engaged in that maybe rubbed you the wrong way, or maybe you rubbed them the wrong way. You want to take this time to learn how to season your communication so that you might be able to gain a brother by using a graceful manner and taking those resources to change the narrative. Louis Pasteur is quoted as saying that fortune smiles upon the prepared. Have you taken the time to prepare your narrative to move beyond the conflict, whether it was petty or whether it was great, and gain the opportunity to gain a brother? The word conversation simply means, again, your life and how you live it. It should be full of grace. That means to meet people where they are, giving them the most of what they don't have, which is respect and honor and empathy and truth and patience and most of all love. And to be genuine in this moment is the salt, being the genuine article, not being false about it, not acting, is the salt that leaves a residue and makes a difference. I've seen many posts in social media. I have even posted that once this is over, this season that we're in, that I won't take for granted the simple things, such as being polite and embracing someone and interacting and going to work, those simple things in life. In reality, I will have to fight against the desire to get back to the familiar. I have to remember that the Bible tells us that the eye will never be satisfied with just seeing once. So prepare your heart by taking to value what you have currently, and truly understand that it could be gone in an instant. Are you making plans for when this is over? Consider James chapter 4, verses 13 and 17, who gives a warning and a perspective. He says that now listen, you who say tomorrow or today we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, and carry on our business and make money. Why? Do you not even know what will happen tomorrow? What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then you vanish. Instead, you ought to say, it is the Lord's will, and we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes, and all such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows good and they don't do it, for them it is sin. Proverbs chapter 16 and 9 also states and gives us a pattern in this way. The heart of the man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Should you make plans? Yes, make plans. Be efficient in those plans. Make plans, but be willing to submit under the direction of God. How can you know if your plans are under the direction of God? Simply this. If your plans only benefit you and not benefit others. If your plans are only for you to live your best life, but not improve the lives of others, it probably runs in contradiction to the direction of God. In other words, you will have wasted time in your plans when you only consider yourself. Finally, to the Christian and to the non-Christian alike, this COVID-19 season will pass away eventually. But the trauma of it has made the concept of normal an impossibility. We should take time to consider that before COVID-19 life, we could stand a reboot. Let me give you an example. The United States before World War II was just simply an industrial power. What military actions they had performed, it was always in this hemisphere with a couple of exceptions. But after Pearl Harbor was bombed, the United States was thrust into one of the world-leading nations. And our religion, and our politics, and our society, and our pathos, all those things that we had held dear before World War II got changed. We could never go back before then because of the trauma. Likewise, it is foolish to assume that things will go on as they were before COVID-19. And any attempt of normalcy, we're only fooling ourselves. Our investment of what time we had should be different than what it was in the past. You can't go back to the past. You can't change what was already done. You can only acknowledge it and approve upon it. If all our returns of investing the time are only here in our temporal, I guarantee it will disappear like yesterday's frost. We should strive to produce a return that is eternal. This is the definition of how treasure is built in heaven. Isaiah 49 and 8 says this. In the acceptable time when I heard you, and in the day of salvation, I helped you. And I'm speaking first to the non-believer. If you think that you have tomorrow to get your life in order, or to accept God, or to build a relationship with Jesus Christ, tomorrow is not guaranteed to you. Your smartphone will not be able to guarantee that tomorrow at some point of your choosing, that you will still be alive to make that decision. I think you should take, and I don't have to think, I know you should take today and count it as precious as it is and make a determination that you need God in your life. To the believer, I'm saying the same thing. When God has given you instructions to do something and you don't do it, and you think you have till tomorrow to perform it, understand this. Tomorrow's not promised to you either. And you should do the things that God has required you to do with the understanding that today is the only amount of time that matters. Finally, I'm going to say this sentence to you, which I think some have heard before. Time is God's gift to you. What you do it and how you use that time is your gift back to God. May God richly bless you, my beloved.